"You're late," my mom said as she stepped onto the porch, dragging her suitcase behind her. I glanced at the dashboard clock. 6:02 a.m. 2 minutes. I was 2 minutes late. "Mom," I said, forcing a smile as I got out of the car. "It's literally 2 minutes." I moved to grab her suitcase, then froze. My sister Lauren was walking out of the house behind her, suitcase in hand. I blinked. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice tight. My mom turned to me with a too cheerful smile that immediately set off alarm bells. "Oh, Violet, honey. We decided Lauren's going instead of you. She's been under a lot of stress lately. We thought this would be good for her." My chest constricted. "Instead of me? Mom, I planned this trip. I paid for it. I've been saving for 2 years. She waved me off like I'd just brought up something minor. "And we're so grateful, sweetheart. But you're always so busy and working so hard. You can go another time. Lauren really needs this right now." Lauren didn't even pretend to look sorry. She just smirked and shifted her weight to one hip. "Thanks for understanding, sis," she said, voice oozing with fake sweetness. I stared at the two of them, my heartbeat thudding loud in my ears. A few seconds later, my dad stepped outside with his suitcase, avoiding my eyes as he handed it to me. "This is unbelievable," I said, my voice shaking. "This was supposed to be our trip, something special, something I planned for you." "It still is," my mom replied, still smiling like nothing was wrong. "Just with Lauren instead. Don't make a scene, Violet. Your sister needs this." My name is Violet, and for the past 2 years, I've been working overtime, sacrificing weekends, saving every spare dollar to put together a once-in-a-lifetime trip for my parents. Flights, luxury hotels, guided tours. I planned every detail, down to the last dinner reservation. And in the space of 5 minutes, they replaced me with Lauren like it was nothing. I bit down hard on my tongue and forced a tight smile. "Let's get going then," I said flatly. If they were going to pick her over me, fine, they could go with her, but they weren't going to enjoy it. The car ride to the airport was unbearable. Lauren chattered nonstop from the back seat. "Oh my gosh, Mom, did you see that TikTok about Paris? I can't wait to shop. Do you think we'll have time, or are the tours going to take up the whole day?" My grip on the steering wheel tightened as I stared ahead, trying not to explode. My mom chuckled. "Of course we'll have time. We'll figure it out when we get there." When we get there, not we like the three of us, just them. At one point, my dad cleared his throat. "Thanks for driving us, Violet. I know this must feel unusual." I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. Unusual. Interesting choice of words. He shifted in his seat, clearly regretting saying anything. Lauren leaned forward. "You're not mad, right?" she said, in that syrupy sweet tone. "I mean, this is really generous of you. I could never afford this on my own." I smiled tightly. "Of course, Lauren. Enjoy the trip." By the time we reached the airport drop-off zone, I was hanging on by a thread. I got out and started unloading their bags. My mom pulled me into a hug. "Thank you for understanding, sweetheart. This really means a lot to us and to Lauren." "Sure, Mom." Lauren beamed as she rolled her suitcase toward the entrance. "Thanks, Violet. You're the best." I watched them disappear into the terminal, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. My heart was a mix of rage and devastation. The drive home was a blur. I kept replaying their words over and over in my head like a broken record. "This means a lot to Lauren. You're always working so hard. Don't make this a big deal." When I pulled into my driveway, I didn't get out right away. I sat there, white-knuckling the steering wheel. Then, something in me snapped. I marched inside, pulled out my laptop, and logged into every travel account I'd used to book the trip. Hotel reservations canceled. Tour packages refunded. Airline upgrades gone. I stared at the confirmation emails piling up in my inbox. And for the first time that day, I felt something close to peace. If they wanted to take Lauren instead of me, cool. But they weren't going to stay in 5-star hotels or enjoy private tours. Not on my dime. They could explain themselves to the front desk in Paris. I was done being their doormat. The call started the moment their plane landed. I ignored them at first, unpacking the suitcase I'd so carefully prepared for a trip I wasn't even taking anymore. The irony wasn't lost on me as I hung up dresses I'd picked out for Paris and tucked away shoes that would never touch cobblestone streets. My phone buzzed again, my mom. Several missed calls and texts. I finally looked. Violet, what's going on? The hotel says the reservation is gone. Call me now. This isn't funny. Fix this. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Fix this? They really thought I was going to swoop in and save the day. I let the next call from Lauren go to voicemail. Violet, this is so petty. We're stuck here because of you. You have to call the hotel. Fix it. I deleted it without listening to the rest. For years, I'd been the fixer, the one who smoothed over every crisis. Not anymore. Eventually, I picked up the phone, just to stop the barrage. The moment I answered, my mom's voice came through like a hurricane. Violet, what did you do? The hotel says the reservation's gone. None of the tours are booked. This is a disaster. I let her yell for a few seconds before calmly saying, I canceled everything. Silence. Then, why would you do that? Oh, I don't know, I replied. Maybe because you took my trip and gave it to Lauren. You're lucky I even drove you to the airport. We thought you'd understand, she snapped. Understand what? My voice rose. That years of saving, planning, and sacrifice didn't matter? That my hard work was meaningless because Lauren needed a break? Guess what, Mom? I don't understand and I don't care to. I hung up, then turned off my phone. The silence that followed? Bliss. And for the first time in years, I could actually breathe. The silence lasted about a day. By the next morning, my phone lit up again. More calls, more texts. At first, I ignored them. I made breakfast, cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, anything to keep myself busy. But curiosity eventually got the better of me. That evening, I sat on the couch, phone in hand, and scrolled through the endless messages. From my mom, Violet, you've gone too far. Your sister is in tears, your father is furious, and we can't get into any of the hotels you booked. From Lauren, you're acting like a child, just fix it already. And from my dad, we need to talk, this isn't right. I set the phone down, letting it drop onto the couch beside me. For so long, I was the one who kept everything together. The one who made sure everyone was happy, even if I wasn't. Now that I'd stopped, they didn't know what to do. They were flailing without their fixer. I got up and made a cup of tea, letting the warmth seep into my hands as I sat at the kitchen table. The calls kept coming, but I let each one go to voicemail. How dare they act like I was the one in the wrong? Like I owed them something? The phone rang again. This time I answered. Violet, my mom barked, before I could even say hello. This isn't funny anymore. We're stranded. Do you understand how embarrassing this is? I took a slow sip of tea. Embarrassing? Try saving for 2 years, planning a dream vacation, and then getting told you're not even coming. That's embarrassing. You're being dramatic, she said sharply. Lauren needed this more than you. And now she can figure it out, I said coolly. You made your choice. You took her instead of me. That's fine. But you don't get to enjoy the trip I paid for. We're family, she hissed. We don't do this to each other. A bitter laugh escaped me. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. In the background, I heard Lauren's voice, loud and whiny. Mom, just hang up. She's being impossible. That was it. Enjoy your trip, I said, my voice like ice. Oh wait, you can't, because it was never your trip. It was mine, and now it's nobody's. I hung up, turned off my phone, and didn't turn it back on the rest of the night. For the first time in years, I slept soundly. The next few days were quiet, blissfully quiet. With my phone off, the world outside couldn't touch me. I spent mornings sipping coffee on the back porch, afternoons catching up on work and reorganizing the house. It felt like I was finally clearing the emotional clutter I'd been carrying around for years. But on the third day, curiosity got the best of me again. I turned my phone back on. Immediately, it buzzed with voicemails and texts. The first few were from my mom. Her voice got more desperate with each message. Violet, please, call me back. This has gone too far. You've humiliated us. We're your parents. How could you do this? Then Lauren, this is seriously petty, even for you. You ruined everything. Fix it. And finally, my dad. I don't understand what's going on with you. Call us so we can talk. I stared at the screen, unmoved. This wasn't about one bad decision. This was about years of being overlooked, dismissed, and taken for granted. This trip, it was just the final straw. That evening, there was a knock at my door. It was Grace, my closest friend, carrying 2 iced coffees and a knowing look. I heard, she said, setting the drinks down on the kitchen table. Your mom called me yesterday. Of course she had. My mom had always been good at recruiting allies whenever she needed to guilt me into falling back in line. And, I asked, raising an eyebrow. Grace shrugged, her lips curving into a smirk. I told her you were probably busy, and you'd call back when you were ready. I laughed, shaking my head. You're the best. No, she said seriously, you're the best. Because you finally stood up for yourself. Her words hit me harder than I expected. Because she was right. It had taken years of swallowing my feelings, burying my anger, but I'd finally drawn a line. And I wasn't stepping back over it. By the weekend, I felt lighter. The anger hadn't vanished, but it wasn't the sharp, all-consuming rage it had been. It was quieter now, burning low in the background, but not controlling me. That peace, however, didn't last long. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, I picked up. Violet, my dad said. His voice was tired. Your mom asked me to call. She thinks, maybe you'll listen to me. I leaned back in my chair. Go ahead. He sighed. Look, this whole thing, it's gotten out of hand. Your mom's upset. Lauren's furious. We're all just trying to get through this. But you're better than this. That comment lit a fuse. Better than what, Dad? Standing up for myself? Refusing to let you walk all over me again? That's not what I meant, he said quickly. You've always been the one who keeps things together. This isn't like you. You're right, I snapped. It's not, because for once, I'm not cleaning up after you. There was a pause. I thought, maybe, just maybe, he was going to admit he was wrong. But instead he said, you're punishing the whole family over one decision. Is that really fair? Fair? My voice rose. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you all decided I didn't matter enough to come on the trip I planned and paid for? Was it fair when you replaced me with Lauren, again, like I was just an afterthought? That's not what we were trying to do, he said. We just thought Lauren needed it more. Of course you did, I said bitterly. You always think Lauren needs more attention, more sympathy, more support. And I'm always the one who's supposed to give it up for her. The silence stretched on. Finally, he said, I don't know what you want me to say. I don't need you to say anything, I replied, voice calm but firm. I need you to understand. I'm done being the afterthought. From now on, I come first. I ended the call before he could respond. The rest of the day, I let myself feel everything. Anger, sadness, grief for the version of my family I'd hoped to have. It hurt, but for the first time, I wasn't trying to shove that hurt away. I was letting it breathe. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first real step forward. When my parents and Lauren finally returned, I was waiting. Not to welcome them, not to help them unpack or ask how their trip went. No, I was parked in their driveway, sipping a coffee, calm and composed on the porch swing. I wanted to see their faces. I needed to. Their taxi pulled up, and the three of them climbed out slowly, dragging their luggage behind them. They looked drained, tired, frustrated. Good. Lauren was the first to speak. Well, I hope you're happy, she said, crossing her arms. I raised an eyebrow. Happy about what? Our trip was a total disaster, she snapped. My mom jumped in, her voice sharp. We spent the week in dingy hotels and eating terrible food. The tours you booked? Gone. Everything we tried to salvage was a mess. I took another sip of coffee, letting their words roll right past me. Sounds rough, I said with a shrug. But hey, you wanted to take Lauren, remember? I'm sure you all had a lovely bonding experience. My mom's jaw clenched. That's not the point. You knew we couldn't afford what you booked. You set us up to fail. I stood up slowly, placing my mug down on the little table beside me. No, Mom, I didn't set you up for anything. I planned that trip for the three of us. I spent years saving for it. You're the ones who decided, without even telling me, that I wasn't coming. We just thought, my dad started, but I cut him off. You thought Lauren needed it more, I said flatly. So you replaced me, like I was optional, like I was nothing. My dad's tone turned defensive. You didn't have to cancel everything, Violet. That was extreme. Was it? I asked, folding my arms. Why should I pay for a trip I wasn't invited to? If Lauren needed a break so badly, you all could have planned your own vacation. Lauren rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. It's just money. My temper flared. And you're so entitled, Lauren. Do you even understand how much time, effort, and sacrifice went into that trip? Or do you just assume things magically appear because someone else handles it? They were quiet. Finally, I looked at all three of them, my mom fuming, my dad uncomfortable, Lauren still pouting like a teenager. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the weak one. I felt strong. I've been the one holding this family together for years, I said, voice unwavering. Planning everything, fixing everything, being the dependable one. And what do I get? Overlooked, pushed aside, told to just understand. That's not, my mom began, but I raised a hand. No, you don't get to play the victim here. You chose Lauren. You treated me like a backup plan. So I chose to stop being your doormat. I grabbed my bag off the porch and turned toward my car. I'm glad you're back safe, but don't expect things to go back to how they were. I'm done. They called after me, voices laced with guilt, confusion, maybe even fear, but I didn't turn around. The drive back to my house felt like shedding a layer of skin I'd been trapped in for far too long. For years, every interaction with my family left me emotionally drained. But now, I felt light. I felt free. When I got home, I made another cup of tea, curled up on the couch, and replayed the confrontation in my mind. They had been stunned, genuinely stunned that I hadn't backed down. For once, they were left to sit in the discomfort. The next morning, Grace called. So, she asked without preamble, how'd it go? I laughed. Exactly how you'd imagine. Lauren's sulking, Mom's fuming. Dad's trying to play peacemaker. Let her fume, Grace said. You finally got a spine, and I'm here to make sure it stays in place. Thank you, I said, and I meant it. Seriously, I don't know how I would have gotten through this without you. Anytime, she said. So what's next for you, now that you're not playing family therapist anymore? That question hit me harder than I expected. What was next? So much of my identity had been wrapped up in pleasing them, fixing things, making sacrifices. Now that I'd let that go, what did I want? I don't know yet, I said honestly, but for the first time in forever, I get to decide. Sounds like the start of something amazing. Over the next few weeks, I made small changes, subtle ones, but they felt monumental to me. I replaced the old hand-me-down furniture in my living room with pieces that felt like me. Bright colors, clean lines, no more beige floral couches from my parents' basement. I spent my weekends exploring local cafes and parks, places I'd always said I'd visit when I had time. I started journaling again, not the performative kind I used to write when I thought someone might one day read it, but raw, honest entries. What I was feeling, what I wanted. It was strange, scary even, to realize how much of myself I'd let slip away in the name of family duty. Then one night, I opened the spreadsheet I'd used to plan the trip. The original one. All the bookings, the itineraries, the notes. It hurt a little at first, looking at what could have been. But the sting faded quickly. I didn't feel regret. I felt clarity. That money I'd saved for years, it wasn't wasted, not even close. I clicked over to a new browser tab and typed, Solo Travel Destinations for Women. A few weeks later, I booked a trip. Italy, 10 days, just me. It wasn't about proving a point anymore. It wasn't about getting back at anyone. It was about me. Doing something for myself, finally. When I stepped off the plane in Rome, I was nervous. I'd never traveled alone before. But as I walked into the warm chaos of the airport and caught my first glimpse of the Eternal City, a strange feeling settled over me. I wasn't scared. I was free. I spent the next 10 days wandering through cobblestone streets, standing beneath the towering ruins of the Colosseum, sipping cappuccinos in quiet cafes where nobody knew my name. And for once, I liked it that way. There was no itinerary to stick to. No one asking me to adjust the schedule. No Lauren monopolizing attention. Just me, doing exactly what I wanted, when I wanted. I strolled along the Tiber River at sunset, took spontaneous detours into bookshops and bakeries, and marveled at how different everything felt when I didn't have to compromise every moment for someone else. One afternoon, I sat on the Spanish steps with a gelato in one hand and my journal in the other. I flipped through past entries, pages filled with lists of things I wanted to do, places I wanted to go, goals I'd buried under the weight of other people's expectations. Back then, those dreams always had an asterisk, a silent disclaimer, as long as it doesn't interfere with what the family needs. Not anymore. I turned to a fresh page and started a new list. Learn Italian, start a small business, travel to 5 more countries, move out of state, say no without explaining. That last one felt like the most important. On my final night in Florence, I ate dinner at a little family-run restaurant tucked into a quiet street near the Arno River. The view was unreal, sunset bleeding into the sky, turning the water pink and gold. As I sat there, glass of wine in hand, a strange but welcome feeling settled over me. Peace. Real peace. Not the fragile kind I used to grasp at when I pretended everything was okay back home. This was deeper, stronger. It came from knowing that, for once, I hadn't given in. I hadn't let them bulldoze me. And best of all, I hadn't needed them. When I returned home, the messages started again. This time, the tone had changed. From my mom, "Hope you had a nice trip. Maybe we can all talk soon." I stared at the message, then set my phone down. I wasn't ready to reply. And for once, that was okay. It was going to be on my timeline now. As I unpacked, I placed souvenirs from Italy around the house. A hand-painted tile, a postcard from Rome, a tiny leather journal from a shop in Venice. Each item reminded me of something I hadn't felt in years. Ownership. Not just of a trip, but of my life. A week later, my phone rang. My mom again. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, she called again, and this time I answered. "Hi, Violet," she said, voice soft, like she wasn't sure how I'd respond. "How was your trip?" "It was amazing," I said simply. She paused, then tried again. "That's really good to hear." There was a long silence before she added, "We've been thinking a lot about what happened. Maybe we didn't handle things the right way." I blinked. An admission? "Maybe," I repeated. "I mean, no, we didn't handle it right," she corrected. "We should have talked to you. We shouldn't have just assumed you'd be okay with it. You replaced me, Mom, on a trip I planned, paid for. You didn't just assume. I was told the morning of that I wasn't going." "I know," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "And I'm sorry. Your dad and I, we thought we were doing the right thing for Lauren, but we didn't think about how it would make you feel." That part didn't surprise me. That's how it always was. Lauren needed something, and I disappeared from the equation. "What about her?" I asked. "Does she feel bad, or is she still mad I ruined her vacation?" My mom exhaled. "She's upset, but I think she realizes she could have handled things differently too." I wasn't sure I believed that, but I wasn't going to argue. "This wasn't just about the trip, Mom," I said. "This was about everything. About years of putting her first, and me always being the one to let it slide. I'm not doing that anymore." "I understand," she said. "We don't want to lose you, Violet." That tugged at something in me, but I'd learned, finally, not to let guilt make my decisions for me. "I'm glad to hear that," I said. "But it's going to take more than an apology to fix this. I need to see real change." "You will," she said quickly. "I promise. We'll give you space, but I hope you'll let us back in, eventually." After we hung up, I sat quietly for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt steady, calm, like I had a solid grip on my life again. Over the next few months, I kept those boundaries firm. I answered calls when I wanted to. I replied to texts when I had the energy. I stopped rushing in to fix things. If Lauren had a meltdown, that was their problem. I signed up for a photography class, something I'd always dreamed of doing, but never felt justified in spending time or money on. I joined a local hiking group. I even started planning another solo trip, this time to Portugal. Every little step I took away from being the family's fixer felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't even realize I'd lost. One evening, I sat on my porch with a journal in my lap and a cup of tea beside me. Watching the sun dip low on the horizon, I thought back to the girl I used to be, the one who would have accepted their betrayal with a tight smile and a quiet nod, and then picked them up from the airport like nothing happened. She was gone now, and in her place, someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who didn't have to scream to be heard, because she was done waiting for someone to give her permission. I was free, not just from their expectations, but from the old version of myself who thought she had to earn love by shrinking. Not anymore.